Hey, I'm Meggie Kay. So today we're just gonna have a little bit of fun and talk about the countries that I have been to so far, since I can't really travel yet, and right now in Banff we're kind of in between seasons. It's not quite summer hiking and all the winter stuff is kind of closed, so there's not a whole lot for me to do right now. So we're just gonna talk about the countries that I have been to so far. I saw Ali, Psycho Traveler, do this a few months ago now, and I thought it was a really cool idea. So I wanted to do my own with the countries that I've been to. And basically we're gonna use a tier list to rank them, whether I would go back right now or if I'm good and I'm okay and I'm content with my travel there. I don't care if I ever go back. And then the one in the middle where it's like, I do want to go back eventually, but I don't have a really strong pull at the moment. So yeah, let's just get into it. Okay, so the first country we have here is Austria, and I went to Austria twice. So the first time I went was to go skiing. That's where I learned how to ski, in the Austrian Alps. Amazing. The second time I went was during my Europe tour. We stopped in Vienna. Overall, I think I'm pretty content with my trip in Austria, so we're gonna leave that in I'm good. The next country up is Belgium, and Belgium was again part of my Europe tour I did when I was living in Germany, and I didn't even spend the night in Belgium. Basically, yeah, we just stopped in Brussels for like the day and we saw a few things and then we left. So there's definitely a lot I would like to do in Belgium, and I definitely want to go back. It wasn't a complete trip for me, so I'm gonna put it in I'll get there eventually. I'm not super drawn to Belgium. It's not like there's a big pull there, so I'll go back eventually and do what I didn't do. Next country is Cambodia. So Cambodia I went to for a few days, I think 3 days. It was a weekend. It was one of my weekend trips when I was living in Singapore, and we went around Angkor Wat and it was great. I think I would put it there because there are a few other things that I do really want to see in Cambodia, but again, the main thing I wanted to do there I completed, so I'll go back eventually. Okay, so now we have Czechia, or Czech Republic. I know they changed their name to Czechia, but I've never actually heard anyone say Czechia to refer to the country. I still hear people say Czech Republic, but I only actually went to Prague. So yeah, I loved Prague. I thought it was great, and I would like to go back and see more of Prague and also see more of the country because it does look like a really interesting place, and since I loved Prague so much, I feel like I would like the rest of the country too. And yeah, I think I'll put it in going back eventually. I'm not dying to go back there, but I do think if I ever go back to Europe, the fact that it's Central Europe, it'll be really easy just to sneak back in and hang out there for a few more days. Yeah, I'll go back eventually. So down to Dominican Republic. And Dominican Republic I went to when I was like really young. Not really young, but like 11 or 12. And yeah, I went with my parents, and it was very much that like resort vacation kind of thing. And yeah, we did a few excursions out, but I feel like I didn't really get to experience the country. It was just more of a beach vacation. So I do want to go back, but I'm not super pulled. I don't need to go there now, but eventually I think it'd be nice to go back and really experience the country outside of beach vacation resort kind of thing. So I'll put it there. So now we have Fiji, and Fiji I loved Fiji. I thought it was great. I spent a week and a half, I think. I forget how long I was in Fiji for, but yeah, I did a bit of island hopping. I did a lot of things. It was pretty cool and I really enjoyed it. But I think even though there's things I didn't get to do that I thought looked really cool, I'm pretty content with my Fiji trip, so I'm good. France. Where should we put France? I think I'm good with France. So I spent a bit of time in Paris, and we spent a night in Lyon and a couple of days in Nice as well, I think. Yeah, those are the 3 places I went to in France. I liked France, but to be honest, France wasn't very high in my list of places to go from the start. Like, I liked France, I enjoyed it, I'm glad I went there. But if I never go back, I'm kind of okay. Okay, so we are on Germany. Now, I lived in Germany for a year, and I did a tour all through Germany, and I went to Oktoberfest, I went to the Christmas markets. I kind of did everything you would go to Germany to do. So I think I'm gonna put it into the I'm good category, and I would like to go back to Germany, but if I do, I feel like it'd just be to like see the people I know there. It wouldn't really be to like travel. But yeah, I'm good with Germany. All right, so we are at Hong Kong. Now, I love Hong Kong. I've been twice. It's like my go-to layover stop if I'm going to Asia. I love stopping in Hong Kong, and I've done most of what you would want to do there. There's a few things I didn't get to, and I think I'm gonna put it into the I'll go back eventually, because there's not a whole lot I'd want to do there. The thing with Hong Kong is that the food is amazing, and it's one of those places where you could just go and have a trip solely for food. Like, go to Hong Kong and all you do is eat. Like, it's that kind of a place. Eventually I'll go back and just stuff my face in Hong Kong, I think. Indonesia. So with Indonesia, I only actually went to Bali. I spent, I forget how long I was, like a week, a little over a week in Bali, and I really enjoyed it. But I also feel like Indonesia is such a big country, and there's so many islands, and Bali is one of those like outlier islands. I feel like it's very unique compared to the rest of the country. So I don't feel like I got a good idea of like Indonesia as a whole, and there's definitely more places I would really like to go in Indonesia, but it's also not a take me back now situation. I don't feel like I really want to go there right this minute. I wouldn't hop on a plane tomorrow and go to Indonesia, but I would definitely want to go back someday. So now we're at Italy, and I'm just gonna get this over with. Italy goes up here to the take me back now. Finally, out of all the countries we've gone through, finally a take me back now country. I would love to go back to Italy. So when I was in Italy, we did Venice, Rome, Florence, and Pisa. So we did the north part. I never got south of Rome. I really want to go back and do that specifically. I would love to go over to Sicily and Sardinia. But yeah, even going back to where I went, I would love to go back to Rome. Rome I found to be like one of those cities where like it's just really nice wandering the streets. And I would also really like to go back to Florence. At the beginning of the pandemic, I got it into my head to learn Italian. No real reason. I have no use for Italian really, but yeah, so I got pretty far in Duolingo with Italian, just out of boredom. So maybe I've looked into like doing like Italian language schools. Again, not that I have a use for it, but I think it would be fun. So yeah, take me back to Italy right now. I'll go. Japan. So I spent 3 years in Japan. That's where I was most recently before coming back to Canada. And yeah, I'm good with Japan. Since coming back, people are like, oh, don't you miss Japan? Do you wish you were still there? And honestly, no. I never got north of Tokyo, so it's not like I've seen the whole country and whatever, but I saw a lot of Japan. I saw a lot of places that most people wouldn't go to, and I'm very content with what I did in Japan. Yeah, 3 years in Japan was enough for me. I'm good. I don't need to go back to Japan. Now we have Malaysia. So I went to Malaysia a few times, and I think I'd like to go back to Malaysia someday. I'm not super drawn to Malaysia, but I do have a brother who lives there, so That's one reason I can go back. But there are a few areas of Malaysia I never got to that I think are really interesting. I would love to go to the Borneo side of Malaysia. I was looking at like hiking a mountain that's out there, but never got around to it. I would also really like to go to Penang. It's like a big foodie place. I'm not much of a foodie, but it's like this is the second time it's come up. I don't know, maybe I'm more of a foodie than I give myself credit for. But yeah, I think Malaysia is somewhere I would definitely like to go back to. Monaco. So Monaco's really small, and if I'm gonna be honest, there's not a lot in Monaco that draws me to it. It's not really my kind of place, so I'm good. I'm gonna keep this one short. Mongolia. Mongolia. If you know me, if you follow me for a while, you know I love Mongolia. It is my favorite place I have been to, and it's take me back now. I did see quite a bit of Mongolia. I did do a lot of things there, but I loved it so much. I want to go back, and specifically I'd love to go back during Nadam, the big sports festival they have there. See the wrestling, see the archery. I tried archery at one of the Gur camps we stayed at. They had a bow and arrow and you can try the archery. It was really hard. I was not good at it, but I'd love to see that. They also have the horse racing, like the big festival. I think it looks so much fun, and I would go back in a heartbeat. So next we have Morocco, and Morocco was fun. I enjoyed my trip to Morocco. I did a lot, but it was also just Marrakesh. Like, we didn't actually travel Morocco. We went to Marrakesh and did like day trips to the surrounding areas. So there's still definitely a lot in Morocco to see. So yeah, I would go back to Morocco, but I'm not in any rush to go back to Morocco. Moving on to New Zealand. So I lived in New Zealand for a year. That's where I did my working holiday, and I feel like I traveled New Zealand pretty thoroughly. I went to the very north, I went to the very south, I went all around both islands, and yeah, I feel like I did New Zealand pretty well, and I wouldn't know what to do if I went back there, you know? So I'm content. I'm good with New Zealand. Next we have Singapore. So I did a semester of university in Singapore. Loved Singapore. Would move back to Singapore in a heartbeat. Loved Singapore. No questions asked. If I ever have the opportunity to go back to Singapore, to live in Singapore again, I'm there. It is definitely my favorite place I've ever lived, ever. So yes, Singapore, take me back. I really been missing Singapore recently too. Like, I've been thinking about it a lot, and yeah, I really miss living in Singapore. Next up is South Korea. So I did 2 trips to South Korea. My first trip was to Seoul, and I was a bit meh on it. Like, it wasn't a bad trip, but I was also like not super into it. And then in my second trip, I went to Busan and a couple of smaller towns along the southern coast, and loved it. I thought it was amazing. And there are a few more places in South Korea I would like to go to, and I would like to give Seoul another chance. So yeah, I will go back eventually, but I'm not in a rush to go back to South Korea. So now we have Taiwan, and I love Taiwan. I was there for 2 weeks. I circled through the whole country. I did a lot. There was a few things I really wanted to do, but I either didn't have time for, or it was like the wrong time of year, because I was there over Christmas and New Year's, so like middle of winter. And yeah, I loved Taiwan. It was amazing, and I don't know if it's a take me back now or I'll go back eventually. This one's making me think a little bit. Okay, it's hard because like I did a lot in Taiwan. I circled through the whole country. I got a good feel for it. But there was a lot I didn't get to do that I really wanted to do, and it's one of those places I feel like I could travel forever and keep finding new things despite it being such a small country. Know what? Comparing to like how I have things organized, it's definitely higher on my list than everything I have in the I'll go back there eventually. So because of that, I think I'll put it into the take me back now. it's like it's the in-between, the take me back now and I'll go back there eventually, because I did a lot but there's still a lot I want to do, and I would go back and do the same thing again. Taiwan, you're making me think. All right, so now we're at Thailand, and I have been to Thailand 4 times. I have been to like every region of Thailand, and I'd go back again, like right now. Absolutely. I'm kind of glad my brother lives in Thailand and I can just like use that as an excuse, like I need to go back. But honestly, I love Thailand so much, and I think it's amazing and incredible, and I would go back so quick, not even thinking about it. Absolutely. Okay, so we are down to the UK. Now, I've been getting a lot of like UK stuff on my Instagram for some reason, and I've been really wanting to go. And when I went to the UK, I really only went to London, and I wasn't there for very long, and I was so unbelievably jet lagged. Like there's been like 2 or 3 times where jet lag really hit me, and my time in the UK was one of it. So yeah, I really want to go back like right now. Take me back. I want to go to London again because I didn't really have a good time. I was beyond tired, and I really want to go to Scotland. I've never been to Scotland, and it is like almost #1. I don't really have like a list of like countries I want to go to right now, but Scotland is very high up there. I really want to go to Scotland. Next up we have the USA, and I know I'm going to go back to the US mainly because my dad lives there, and I'll probably do some exploring while going to visit my dad. But strictly thinking about travel, I'm kind of good with what I've done. I lived in the US for 2 years when I was a kid. You know, I've visited a few different states just as a traveler. If I never go back to travel, like I said, I'm gonna go to visit family, but I'm okay with what I've done so far, and I'm not super interested in visiting the US. So next we have Uzbekistan, and I went there for 2 weeks, and it was real fun. I enjoyed Uzbekistan, and I feel like I did everything there that I wanted to do. It was a really complete experience for me, and so I'm gonna say that Uzbekistan goes into the I'm good. I enjoyed it, it was fun, and I kind of checked off everything I would want to do there. So, and we have Vatican City. Vatican City is going into the I'm good just because it's so small and you really only need a day there. There's not a whole lot to see. I did it, it was fun, I'm good. And last, finally, is Vietnam. I only went to southern Vietnam, I never went to the north. But if I'm gonna be honest, the things I wanted to see in Vietnam were in the south, and I'm not super interested in going back if I'm gonna be completely honest. Vietnam is one of those places I feel that are very polarizing, where people either become like super obsessively in love with the country, or they're kind of like, no, not my place, and I just kind of fall into the it's not my place kind of experience. Not that it was a bad trip, I enjoyed my time there, I had a great experience, it's just not my place. So I'm happy with what I did, and it's gonna go into the I'm good. So yeah, those are all the countries I've been to so far, except for Canada, obviously. I'm Canadian, that's where I am right now. But those are all the countries that I've been to, and whether I feel the need to go back to or not. So yeah, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, because I'll be back with another one soon.